I'm going to take a brief moment to introduce Morphisec and discuss the environment related to COVID-19 as we're seeing it. So to kick things off, Morphisec is among the largest cybersecurity companies deployed on over 5 million endpoints today. We prevent the advanced attacks that are built to bypass detection. And by that, I'm talking about the fileless attacks, the evasive malware, exploits, 0 days. These are the most dangerous attacks that contribute to most of the successful breaches that we see and read about in the news today. And we prevent threats before the damage. We do it automatically, architecturally, by locking down the attack through a technology we call moving target defense that hardens the endpoint from an attack, allowing for full business continuity. And I'll describe a little bit more about the technology behind that. We provide protection across workstations, servers, VDIs, cloud workloads, and through our integrations with Microsoft, AWS, and VMware. So I'm presuming I'm sharing my screen here. So you should see embracing securing remote workforce. Let me pivot to this discussion here. Last couple months, been having a lot of conversations with customers, and the initial sudden shift to remote workforce. Many organizations are really in the stages of trying to figure it out as they go. Home networks and PCs inherently insecure, trying to figure out how to just authenticate, how to encrypt their data, the basic fundamentals in this first wave. And now we're having to figure out how to, for example, secure Zoom for our privileged users, for our CFOs and CEOs, and how to enable various security protocols, just allow folks to do their jobs. And meanwhile, it's created an opportunity for the threat actors, preying on this disruption. And we've seen a massive spike in the level of COVID-19 targeted campaigns, particularly spear phishing. But the key part is now that we're emerging to this new normal from this crisis, the way we work is going to change forever, right? It's also changing our security mindset in parallel, right? And the next wave of this adjustment that moves from a reactionary detection defense to a more proactive prevention defense posture. And I think this last point here in the slide is equally important and sometimes overlooked. We need to strike a balance between employees' productivity in being able to do their work in a non-disruptive fashion in security. And this is sometimes even more important than anything else. And so, these times provide us the ability to take a step back, formulate a blueprint plan for this next wave, to set a strategy around proactive prevention. And I'll talk a little bit about enabling technology that we have, like I mentioned, moving target defense, that simplifies productivity, also creates a huge boost in security. So click, there's another slide here if I'm not sharing. It's also important, as we take a step back, which is, why we need to reassess these three main elements of the security architecture here that you see in the slide, each playing a role in both risk and cost. We have prevention, detection, and remediation. And we intuitively know that prevention, by far the most important layer for the defender to reduce their risk, stopping a breach before infiltration, rather than these costly firefighting steps of detection and remediation. So, we do this a lot less prevention. I think we all know this than we should, mostly due to the fact that there's been a lack of innovation in the space, which historically prevention's been done by old tech, commoditized, signature-based antivirus. And so we've fallen back into an EDR, a detection and remediation steps. But in this layer, we have to rely on behavioral probabilistic techniques. And let's not forget the human element to this, to actually operate in the complexity of these tools. And worse, even once you detect something malicious, it's already doing damage. It's already in your network. It's already on the endpoint. And remediation then really truly becomes a fire drill to mitigate the damage. And so this next slide, so Morphisec's goal is to restore a focus on prevention, to put it in its rightful place. The biggest innovation leap that we've invented with moving target defense in the last 10 years. So to be clear about what I mean by prevention and what we're doing, it's not signature-based, it's not behavioral type. I'm talking about an offensive approach to prevention, an architecture that kills and traps the attack before any damage is done without needing any IOCs or any prior knowledge. And this is prevention that's deterministic. It's not based on probability, reducing our reliance on these detection and downstream remediation steps that I talk about. So the next slide here, given this, it's useful to kind of step back again and ask ourselves, why hasn't this been solved in prevention? And it's because of the adversary has a powerful, enduring advantage today in the market, and that's a static and predictable endpoint target. To get at an application's memory resources where, again, most successful breaches occur. And so in this reactive approach, we set up various sensors. We know these as EDR, next-gen antivirus that monitor our systems and scan the memory, but the attacker finds clever ways to evade those sensors and develops a path to get at the memory resources to mount a successful campaign. And we see this all the time. And so, in this next slide, in the static model, the attacker has all the time in the world to study our weaknesses, right? And so our reliance on the status quo tools has made our defenses really very reactionary. And so, in fact, this weakness was first coined by our strategic partner, Department of Homeland Security. What the DHS said is a static nature of the systems makes them easy to attack and hard to defend. I mean, makes sense, right? In the physical battlefield, they're constantly moving critical assets away in a non-predictable way as part of their fundamental defense strategy. And so, this has become the basis of Morphisec strategy with moving target defense. Our approach is simply to say, well, if the attacker's advantage is predictability of a static target, we've stepped in and we've taken away the attacker's advantage by making those critical assets unpredictable and dynamic. And so, what the attacker does when it meets its expected target, expecting to find the various memory resources, we morph them. And we morph them in a whole new structure, and suddenly the attack, hits the original memory stub as a trap and crashes the attack. And we do it automatically, pre-execution, without needing analysts or human involvement. So that's a true essence of moving target defense, to make those assets dynamic and unpredictable. And it shifts this advantage over to the defender with an offensive, proactive approach to protection. So in summary here, a proactive prevention strategy based on moving target defense truly has become a business enabler for work from home in particular, as we reevaluate our security posture, our blueprint. It's incredibly effective at preventing the most dangerous fileless attacks, evasive malware, 0 days, the unknown attacks, and stopping the attacks again instantly, locking down the attack automatically, and ultimately reducing our risk by hardening the endpoint, but not at the cost of user productivity. This is very important for organizations. It's extremely simple to manage through our Security Center dashboard. We're integrated with Windows 10 Defender AV, so we pull everything through a single agent for a full protection stack. And also, operational savings. It's essentially instantaneous with a simple set it, forget it nature of our architecture, and simplification of the endpoint stack as a whole. And finally, maybe most important of all here is really around business enablement, measured in terms of business continuity, allowing the automatic hardened protection for both end users and security teams and IT teams to focus their energy on the responsibilities, higher level responsibilities in the environment. So with that, hopefully I squeaked into my 7 minutes, and thank you very much for your time, and look forward to answering your questions later on.